Hello friends, it's me. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, but today we are talking about my top 5 must-read books this August 2025. Let's get into it. The first book is The House in the Pines by Aina Reyes. I just finished this one last night. Absolutely loved it. So here's a little blurb. After her twin sister's mysterious death, Maggie moves to a remote cabin in Maine to start fresh and heal. But when a storm knocks her unconscious, and she wakes up with no memory of what happened, she begins to suspect that she may have killed her sister after all. And now someone is trying to kill her too. As Maggie tries to piece together her fractured memories, she uncovers secrets about her past that she never knew and must confront the truth about who she is before it's too late. Okay, so for those of you who love thrillers with unreliable narrators, this is going to be your jam. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat the entire time. You know how sometimes when you're rereading a thriller, you can kind of guess the ending, or you have an idea who the bad guy is? Not this one. I honestly did not see the ending coming, and the way that everything was written was just so masterful. Like the way that we got into Maggie's head, and we didn't know what happened. We only knew what she knew, and when things started to unravel, it was just done so well. She doesn't know if she killed her sister. Is she the killer? Was she abused as a child? Did she have a traumatic brain injury from being hit on the head? What happened? And then there's this mystery about her stalker. Who is it? Why are they stalking her? And like I said, I did not see the ending coming, and the ending had me gasping for air. Also, if you are a fan of movies like Gone Girl, you will love this book. It gives me very strong Gone Girl vibes. Okay, so the second book is The Last Thing He Told Me by Lavra Dave. I talked about this one a lot on here, because I am obsessed, and it is one of my favorite books of 2023. Here is a little blurb. After his wife mysteriously disappears, a man leaves his daughter a note with instructions to deliver the $1 million to a mysterious contact to ensure her mother's safe return. But as the clock ticks and the deadline approaches, the desperate dad realizes that he has no choice but to go to the police. Now they must work together to decipher the cryptic clues left behind by her father and race against time to find her mother before it is too late. Okay, so first of all, this book kept me guessing the whole time. I thought I had it all figured out, and then boom, plot twist. I was not expecting that. And let me tell you, the ending had me on the edge of my seat. Lavra Dave is such a fantastic writer. The way she builds suspense and keeps you on the edge of your seat is truly masterful. And this book is no exception. What really stood out to me was the relationship between the characters. The bond between the father and daughter is heart-wrenching. The story explores themes of trust, betrayal, and the lengths we go to protect those we love. The third book is The Guest List by Lucy Foley, another great thriller pick for this month. Here's a little blurb. On a remote island off the coast of Ireland, a lavish wedding weekend is planned for an exclusive guest list. But as the festivities begin, it becomes clear that not everyone is who they seem to be. When a storm cuts them off from the mainland and a dead body is discovered, the guests must work together to find the killer before they strike again. Okay, so if you are a fan of Agatha Christie meets modern-day storytelling, then this book is for you. The setting is absolutely fantastic. You can just picture yourself on that remote island in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by a bunch of shady characters. Talk about a recipe for disaster. The story unfolds through multiple perspectives, which keeps you guessing until the very end. Each character has their own secrets and motives, so you're never quite sure who to trust. And let me tell you, the ending will definitely surprise you. The fourth book is In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. This one is a wild ride from beginning to end. Here's a little blurb. A group of old friends reunite for a hen party in a remote cabin in the woods. But as the night goes on, tensions rise and secrets are revealed, leading to a terrifying discovery. The bride-to-be finds herself in a fight for her life as she tries to uncover the truth and escape the darkness that's closing in on her. Okay, so right off the bat, I want to say that this book is not for the faint of heart. It's dark, it's suspenseful, and it will keep you up at night. Trust me, the characters are complex and flawed, which makes them all very realistic and relatable. You really get a sense of their backstories and motivations, which adds depth to the story. The plot is fast-paced and full of twists and turns that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The ending is definitely not what you would expect. And the fifth book is Verity by Colleen Hoover. If you haven't read anything by Colleen Hoover, you're missing out. She is the queen of romance novels. And although this one does have some romance elements, it's more of a psychological thriller. So here's a little blurb. A struggling writer, Lowen Ashley, is hired by a famous author, Jeremy Crawford, to complete the remaining books in his popular series. But as she delves into his work and personal life, she uncovers a dark secret that threatens to destroy everything. Okay, so as a writer myself, I can really relate to the main character, Lowen. She's a bit of a mess, but in the best possible way. She's determined, passionate, and a little bit reckless. The supporting characters are equally fascinating. Jeremy is a brooding and mysterious figure with a lot of secrets. And then there's Verity, whose presence looms over the story like a dark cloud. The plot is incredibly suspenseful and keeps you guessing until the very end. I thought I had it all figured out, but boy, was I wrong. The ending will leave you speechless. So there you have it, my top 5 must-read books for August 2025. I hope you enjoy them as much as I did. And don't forget to support us. You can follow us on social media for more amazing reads. Until next time, happy reading. Bye. These are August's most thought-provoking reads. Okay, so the first article that we're going to start off with today is called "The U.S. Economy Needs Immigrants More Than Immigrants Need the U.S." This was an op-ed written by 2 professors at the University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Michigan. And this is such a timely piece right now because immigration reform has been at the forefront of American politics for many, many years. We've seen record high levels of immigration in recent months, and this piece will really help you better understand what exactly is happening at the border. So let's talk about some key points from the article. The authors begin the article by asking a simple question. Why do people want to come to America? They note that coming to America is very costly. It involves long and dangerous journeys, leaving behind family and friends, learning a new language and adapting to a new culture, and enduring constant uncertainty about one's legal status. But despite these difficulties, immigrants still come to America because they have a strong belief that America offers them something that they cannot get where they live. This thing that America offers is mainly economic opportunity. The authors note that while immigrants may come from war-torn countries or countries with widespread corruption, they tend to come from countries with poor economic opportunities. Now, when we think of immigration, often the first thing that comes to mind are people who are entering the country illegally. However, this article focuses primarily on legal immigration. Legal immigrants are not only those who enter the country through official channels, but also those who are already living in the country on visas. For example, there are students who come here to study, those who come here to work, and those who come here to temporarily provide care for children or the elderly. Many of these people enter the country with the expectation that they will eventually become citizens. According to the authors, about 50% of legal immigrants end up becoming naturalized citizens. What's interesting is that despite the fact that so many people want to come to the U.S., according to the authors, our country's current immigration system does not meet basic economic needs. They argue that the U.S. government sets immigration levels too low. For example, last year, the U.S. issued a record number of work visas, yet the number of visas issued is still lower than it was prior to the pandemic. Because of this, Many high-skilled immigrants who could contribute greatly to the economy are unable to enter the U.S. The authors go on to mention that not only are we denying these people the opportunity to contribute to the American economy, but we are also denying ourselves the opportunity to benefit from their talent. One of the biggest problems with the current immigration system is the backlog in family-based immigration. This means that if your spouse or child is a U.S. citizen or green card holder, you can apply for a green card on the basis of your relationship with that person. However, there are massive backlogs in processing these applications, which means that you could be waiting for years before you receive a decision on your application. Now, this creates a very difficult situation for families. If you're waiting on a green card and you're in the U.S., you may not be able to legally work. So if you're unable to work, you're re-stuck in this sort of limbo stage, where you're unable to contribute to the economy, and you're unable to build wealth for yourself and your family. This can also create a lot of financial strain on the person who is sponsoring your green card, because they essentially are the only one who is able to work and provide for the family. Now, this article was published in June of 2023, and since then, we've seen the introduction of the new rule that would make it harder for immigrants to obtain green cards based on family relationships. Essentially, the new rule expands the definition of what constitutes a qualifying relative. A qualifying relative is someone who can sponsor you for a green card. So if you had a qualifying relative who is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, you could apply for a green card based on your relationship with that person. Under the new rule, you will need to show that your relationship with that person is both close and regular. So, for example, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, you should have no problem meeting this requirement. However, if you're an adult child of a U.S. citizen, you may not meet the requirement because the government may determine that your relationship with your parent is not close or regular enough. Now, the thing to note is that this rule change does not affect people who are already in the process of obtaining a green card. It only affects people who are applying for a green card on or after October of 2023. However, this rule change is temporary. It will be in place for only 6 years. Then, after 6 years, the government will decide whether or not to make it permanent. This creates a lot of uncertainty for immigrants who are planning on coming to the U.S. or who are in the process of immigrating to the U.S. This new rule makes it much more difficult for people to come to the U.S. legally, which in turn encourages people to come to the country illegally. Another issue with the current immigration system is that it does not meet the country as labor market needs. This means that if there are certain jobs that the country needs to be filled, but there are not enough native-born workers to fill those jobs, immigrants can step in and fill the gap. According to the authors, if we don't allow immigrants to fill these jobs, it can lead to higher prices for consumers, reduced output for businesses, and slower economic growth. There are two main reasons why the country's labor market needs are not being met. First, as mentioned earlier, the government simply issues too few work visas. Second, the U.S. is experiencing an aging population. The number of native-born workers is simply not growing fast enough to keep up with the country as labor market needs. This is why the authors believe that the U.S. needs to raise immigration levels. By raising immigration levels, the country can meet its labor market needs, which in turn can lead to lower prices for consumers, increased output for businesses, and faster economic growth. Next, we have an article from the New York Times titled, "Why Do We Still Use Cash?" This article talks about the decline of cash usage throughout the world and the shift towards digital payments. Let's talk about some of the key takeaways from the piece. So over the past several decades, we've seen a dramatic decline in the use of cash around the world. In fact, over 80% of transactions in developed countries are now made without cash. And the trend is similar in developing countries as well. In 1994, less than 5% of adults in developing countries used bank accounts or credit cards. Today, That number is over 30%. Now, this is not surprising considering that cash has a lot of drawbacks. It's heavy and bulky. It's expensive to transport. It can be easily lost or stolen, and it can be difficult to keep track of. However, despite all these drawbacks, cash is still king in one country, the United States. Today, cash accounts for nearly a quarter of all transactions in the U.S., and only around 20% of Americans are comfortable with a cashless society. So why is this? Well, there are a lot of reasons. For example, cash provides people with more privacy. When you pay with cash, you don't have to provide your name or any other personal information. This can be appealing to people who value their privacy or who want to make sure that their purchases are not linked to their identity. However, there is a dark side to this privacy. Some people use cash to buy illegal goods and services. For example, the dark web is largely paid for in cash. This is a problem because it makes it difficult for law enforcement to track down criminals. Another reason why cash is still popular in the U.S. is that it's a way to avoid paying taxes. Of course, this is not a legitimate reason, but people do it anyway. After all, taxes are essentially a form of forced redistribution. People who use cash are essentially able to keep more of their money. This can be especially appealing during tough economic times when people are struggling to make ends meet. Then there's the fact that not everyone has a bank account. In fact, over 20% of American adults are either unbanked or underbanked. This is a big problem because it means that these people are excluded from the benefits of a digital economy. They're more likely to be poor, have difficulty paying bills on time, and take out high interest rate payday loans. Now, you might be thinking that the solution to this problem is to simply educate these people on the benefits of having a bank account. However, this is not the case. There are plenty of people who know the benefits of having a bank account, but they simply don't trust banks. They may have had bad experiences with banks in the past, or they may have lost faith in the banking system. The last reason why cash is still popular in the U.S. is that it's a way to support small businesses. When you buy something with cash, you're helping a small business owner pay their employees and buy supplies. Of course, this is not always the case. Many small businesses accept credit cards. But when you do find a small business that only accepts cash, you can be assured that your money is staying in the local economy. Overall, this is an incredibly informative read. And if you're interested in learning more about how cash works, I highly recommend checking out the piece. And that's it for me today, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you learned something new. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us grow. And I'll see you in the next episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am obsessed with these 5 books coming out in August 2025. So let's get into it. Okay, first up, we have In the Shadow of the Crown by Deborah Fillet. Now, if you have not read any of Deborah Fillet's books, I seriously recommend them. She writes amazing historical fiction romance books, and this one is no exception. This book is set in Victorian England and follows the story of a woman named Eliza, who is a former actress who now works as a governess to the children of the Earl of Ashworth. When her employer unexpectedly dies, she finds herself thrown into the world of the aristocracy, where she has to navigate the complexities of high society while also trying to uncover the truth behind his sudden death, all while trying not to fall in love with the brooding and mysterious Lord Ashworth, who is the brother of her employer and the guardian of his children. But of course, they have sizzling chemistry that neither of them can deny, and they start a secret relationship that could scandalize the ton if it were to be exposed. Now, at the same time, Eliza is also trying to protect the children from a scheming aunt who wants to take advantage of their family as fortune. As always, Deborah Fillet writes such strong female characters, and her books are just so well researched and immersive. I literally cannot wait to get my hands on this one. Next up, we have The Last House Guest by Megan Miranda. Now, if you haven't heard me rave about Megan Miranda before, then you must check out this author. Her thrillers are so addictive and twisty. I literally cannot put them down. The Last House Guest is the story of Avery Chambers, a young woman who returns to her hometown of Eagle Point after being released from prison for a crime she didn't commit. Yeah, she's wrongfully convicted. She's serving her prison sentence, and then she comes home. But while she was away, her best friend, Sloane, went missing. And when Avery gets back to town, she's determined to find out what really happened to her. Now, when I say that Megan Miranda writes twisty thrillers, I am not kidding. The plot of this book will keep you guessing until the very end. And the characters are so well developed that you'll feel like you know them personally. Now, Megan Miranda's books are known for their unreliable narrators and shocking twists, and The Last House Guest is no exception. You'll find yourself questioning everything and everyone as you try to piece together what really happened to Sloane. Let me tell you, you do not want to miss this one. All right, next up, we have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Now, if you loved red, white, and royal blue, then you will absolutely adore this book. It's another enemies to lovers romance from the same author, and it's just as steamy and heartwarming as their previous work. One Last Stop is the story of August, a cynical young woman who believes that love is a scam and happiness is overrated. And then there's the charming and charismatic Prince Harrison, aka Prince Charming, who is everything that August despises about the royal family. But when they meet, sparks fly, and they find themselves falling for each other despite their differences. Casey McQuiston writes with such wit and charm, and their books are just so fun to read. You'll find yourself laughing out loud one minute and swooning over the romance the next. And let me tell you, the chemistry between August and Prince Charming is off the charts. If you need a good laugh and a good cry and a good romance, then this is the book for you. All right. Next up, we have The House of Eve by Sedeka Johnson. Now, if you are looking for a powerful and thought-provoking read, then look no further. The House of Eve is a sweeping saga that follows the lives of 3 generations of African-American women and their descendants in Philadelphia from the 1940s to the 2000s. It's a story of resilience, family secrets, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Set against the backdrop of the civil rights movement and the AIDS epidemic, this book tackles important social issues with sensitivity and nuance. Sedeka Johnson's writing is both beautiful and heartbreaking, and you will not be able to put this book down. Once you start reading it, you will finish it in one sitting. I promise you that. Now, this book is perfect for anyone who loves historical fiction with a social message. And I think it's an important story that needs to be told. So do yourself a favor and add this one to your TBR pile. Last but certainly not least, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, if you have been living under a rock and haven't yet discovered Rebecca Yarros, then let me introduce you to this amazing author. Rebecca Yarros writes some of the most addictive and heart-wrenching romance books, and Fourth Wing is no exception. This is the first book in her Empyrean series, and it is a spin-off from her popular Flight and Glory series. Now, if you are already a fan of Rebecca Yarros, then you will love this new series. The story follows Violet Sorrengail, who is a young dragon rider who is determined to prove herself in a world that believes she is not capable. She is underestimated, and she has to work twice as hard as her male counterparts to be taken seriously. But when she's paired with the enigmatic and brooding Xaden Ryerson, things start to change. Together, they must face dangerous enemies, uncover long-buried secrets, and fight for a chance at happily ever after. Now, if you are a fan of dragon riders, or just good old-fashioned romance, then this is the book for you. Rebecca Yarros writes with such passion and intensity that you will feel like you are right there in the saddle with Violet and Xaden. Trust me when I say that you won't be able to put this book down once you start reading it. Now, these are just my personal opinions. Like I said, I am obsessed with all 5 of these books. But if you disagree, then let me know which ones you don't think are worth the hype. And if you have any other books that you think I should know about, then let me know in the comments below. Also, please remember to support the channel because it genuinely means the world to me. Thank you for watching and happy reading. Bye. I've got 5 books that I'm really loving right now. So let's talk about them. First up is The Atlas Paradox by Olive Blake. This is the 3rd book in her Atlas series. It's a new adult fantasy romance series, and I absolutely adore it. The first 2 books are called The Atlas Six and The Atlas Quartet. And if you haven't read those yet, go read those first, because this one does have some spoilers for those first 2 books. But The Atlas Paradox is so good. It's got a slow burn enemies to lovers romance between these 2 characters, Elias and Ruby. And I just love their banter back and forth with each other. I love the world building that she did. In the previous books, she sets up this world where there's people who are like, they're super powerful and they can use magic and stuff. But then there is this group of people called the Alexanders, who are essentially like immortal, and they trying to find ways to get more power. And so there's all this kind of secrets and lies and hidden agendas going on. And the romantic tension between these 2 characters, it's so good. They hate each other, but they also really, really want each other. There's a lot of angst in this book, but it's so worth it. Definitely check out the Atlas series. If you love fantasy romance, especially slow burn, you will love this series. It's so good. And I cannot wait for the next book, because this one ended on a bit of a cliffhanger. Next up is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 4th book in her A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And this one is so good. I've been waiting so long for this book to come out. And I'm so glad that I waited, because it was definitely worth it. So this series is a fantasy romance series, and it follows Feyre after the events of the previous book. She has gone to live with the Spring Court, and she is basically trying to adjust to life there while also trying to hide her mate from the High Lord of the Spring Court, because he's not a fan of her mate. But yeah, this book is fantastic. I love it so much. Sarah J. Maas did such an amazing job writing this. I love all of the characters in this series, but Nesta is definitely my favorite. She is Feyre's younger sister, and I love her character development throughout these books. Like I love her spunkiness. I love her sass. I love her strength. I love everything about her. And Elaine, who's Feyre's other younger sister, I also love her character development. Even though she doesn't really get that much page time in this book, I am excited for her story. And Cassian, he's so sweet. He's a cinnamon roll. I just want to protect him. I love him so much. Definitely check out the A Court of Thorns and Roses series if you love fantasy romance. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Next up is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I've seen this book everywhere. It seems to be everywhere, but I finally picked it up, and I am so glad that I did. This is a contemporary romance between Alex, who is the first son of the United States, and Prince Henry of Wales. And their families have always had this kind of rivalry, like the U.S. and Great Britain. But then Alex and Henry meet at a polo match, and they hit it off. And then they end up making a fake friendship to help repair the damage done between their families. And then obviously, there's a lot of tension there. There is a lot of chemistry there, and it just kind of turns into a friends to lovers romance. And I loved it so much. Casey McQuiston is such a fantastic writer. I love her writing style. It's so funny. It's witty. There's a lot of pop culture references, and I laughed out loud while reading this book. And I also swooned a lot because the romance in this book is just so good. Definitely check out Red, White, and Royal Blue if you love contemporary romance. You will not be disappointed. Next up is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. So this is part of his series, the Synonymous series. So far, we've gotten 2 books in this series, and it's a spin-off from his other series, the Hell's Kitchen series. So this series is about this group of friends in London, and it kind of revolves around their matchmaking agency. And this second book is about Luke, who is the brother of the main character from the previous book in this series. He's a famous TV personality. He's known for being a bit of a womanizer. He's known for having a lot of flings, not really anything serious. But then he meets Oliver Blackwood, who is a young politician, and he seems like the perfect boyfriend for Luke to take home to meet his family for Christmas. But then, of course, there's a lot of tension there. They have to keep up this fake relationship to fool Lutz's family, and I loved it so much. Alexis Hall is such a great writer. I love his writing style. His characters are so well developed and complex. I love how he writes these characters that aren't necessarily good or bad, likable or unlikable. They're just real. They feel real. And I also love how he writes these romances. It's not your typical boy meets girl. Boy likes girl. Girl likes boy. They get together at the end. There's a lot more conflict. There's a lot more angst. There's a lot more build-up to that romance, and I love it. Definitely check out the Synonymous series if you love enemies to lovers, fake relationships, especially if you're a fan of British romance novels. You will love this series. And last but not least is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Casey McQuiston strikes again with another amazing romance novel. This one is a new adult contemporary romance about August, who moves to New York City to be with her girlfriend. But when she moves in with her girlfriend's family, she meets this girl named Jane, who is a punk rock kind of girl who just has this energy about her that August is instantly drawn to. And then it turns out Jane actually lives on the subway, and she has been living on the subway for 7 years. And I don't want to say too much more, because it would be a huge spoiler. But August is determined to help Jane, and she gets off the subway, and she helps her move in with her sister. And I love it. Casey McQuiston just knows how to write these characters that you just want to root for. You want to see them succeed. You want them to be happy. And I love the romance in this book. I love the banter between these 2 characters. I love the chemistry between them. And there's just something about Casey McQuiston's writing that just makes me melt. I love his books. They're so good. Definitely check out One Last Stop if you love contemporary romance, especially if you love enemies to lovers or fake relationships. So those are 5 of my favorite books right now. What are some of your favorite books that you've read recently? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps support me and my channel. And let me know what books you want to see me talk about next. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye. Hey there, it's me. Welcome to my channel. Happy 1st of August. Happy unofficial end of summer. And today we're going to talk about what's hot on my August 2025 reading list. Now, every month I put together for you a list of books that I think are worth your time to read. And this month is no different. In fact, I have an extra special treat for you at the end of this video. So make sure you stick around. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so, because I would love to have you here within our community. I really appreciate it. So let's just dive right into the books. The first one is The Lincoln Highway by R. Morrow. And when I tell you that I stayed up way too late reading this book, I stayed up way too late reading this book. Let me tell you a little bit about it. It's set in the early 60s. You meet these 4 boys whose lives change forever after a brutal car accident in Nebraska. Now, they each deal with their guilt in different ways, but each of their stories is completely captivating. This book has everything: mystery, suspense, adventure, romance, even a little bit of horror. And I loved every minute of it. I thought it was extremely well written, and the characters were all well developed and very realistic. If you like books such as The Perks of Being a Wallflower or The Secret History, then I think you will enjoy The Lincoln Highway. And just a side note here, if you haven't read The Perks of Being a Wallflower, definitely check that out. That was one of my favorite reads back in 2003. The next book on my list is called A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. This is another thriller that had me on the edge of my seat, and it kept me up way too late at night. But let me tell you a little bit about it. It's about a woman named Chloe who is a former child murder victim. She's moved to a new town, and she's trying to put her life back together. But then a series of new child murders start happening in her town, and she becomes the prime suspect. So she teams up with the one person who believes her innocence to try to find the real killer. Just like the last book I mentioned, this one also has mystery, suspense, adventure, romance, and it will keep you guessing until the very end. If you like Gone Girl or The Silent Patient, then I think you will enjoy A Flicker in the Dark. The third book on my list is called Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. This one is a story about a young boy who goes missing and the mother who will stop at nothing to find him. The story is set in a dystopian near future where the government is monitoring citizens' emotions and controlling what they can read. Now, the writing is beautiful, and the story is both heartbreaking and hopeful. I thought it was a very timely and relevant story, and I really enjoyed reading it. If you liked Little Fires Everywhere or The Vanishing Half, then I think you will enjoy Our Missing Hearts. All right, so now I want to talk about a book that's not a book. Let me explain. Now, if you've been following for some time, you know that I'm a huge fan of audiobooks. I listen to them when I'm driving, when I'm working out, when I'm cleaning the house, when I'm doing pretty much anything. And this next one is actually an audiobook that I recently finished listening to, and I loved it so much that I decided to buy the hardcover copy to add to my collection, and that is It's a Wonderful Life by Stephen R. Covey. Now, I know that this book was published over 20 years ago, but I recently listened to the audiobook narrated by the author himself, and I thought it was extremely insightful and helpful. If you've never read it before, the main character, which is also the author's father, is a successful businessman who is having a midlife crisis. He's feeling unfulfilled and unhappy with his life, so he decides to take a vacation to get away from it all. But while he's gone, his business partner steals all of his clients and ruins his company. Now, while he's trying to figure out what to do next, he meets a mysterious man who helps him to see the bigger picture and realize that his life is more important than just his business. I won't give away any spoilers, but let me tell you that this book will inspire you to be a better version of yourself and live a life that you'll be proud of. It's a must-read if you haven't already, whether you choose to read the hardcover copy that I have here or listen to the audiobook. I promise you won't regret it. All right, so I hope you'll forgive me for plugging my own products. But I just wanted to mention that we have 2 new notebooks available on our website, and I think they're perfect for anyone who loves to journal or take notes. They're both hardcover notebooks with beautiful covers and high-quality paper. One of them has a weekly planner on each page, and the other one is a standard notebook without any lines or boxes, so you can use it however you want to. Both of them are available in packs of 2 or 5, and they come in either black and white or cream and brown. I think they would make great gifts for students or anyone else who loves to write things down. And best of all, 100% of the profits go towards funding more videos like this one. So if you want to support my channel while getting a beautiful notebook, I can't think of a better way to do it. And now let's move on to the last book on my list, which is The House in the Pines by Aina Reyes. This is a psychological thriller about a woman who witnesses a murder and then becomes obsessed with finding out who the killer is. The story is told from multiple perspectives, and it keeps you guessing until the very end. I thought it was extremely well written, and the characters were all complex and interesting. If you like books such as The Guest List or Verity, then I think you will enjoy The House in the Pines. So those are the books that I recommend you read this month. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts on them, so go ahead and check it out. I would love to have you. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. I post new videos every single week. And until then, happy reading, and I will see you soon.